What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to another Football Manager 2019 video. And today we're going to be taking a look at my best Wonderkids shortlist. This time we're taking a look at attackers. Over the coming days we're going to have midfielders, defenders, goalkeepers covered as part of this kind of mini video series. Hopefully you do enjoy this video. If you want to download this shortlist yourself, there will be a guide towards the end of the video showing how to get it off the Steam Workshop, where it is available for download now. I do hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, don't forget to rate it. Go and download the file off the Steam Workshop. Make sure to give it a good rating there as well. That really does help me out. I can't stress that enough. And well, without further ado, let's take a look through this list. So, in terms of what constitutes an attacker, I've included attacking midfielders in this list. There is some overlap where if a player can naturally play a centre attacking mid role and say a centre mid role, they will appear in both the Best Wonderkids attackers and midfielders shortlist. This just to kind of keep things consistent, keep things simple for you guys. In terms of the big players, no massive surprises here. I will point out this shortlist has hundreds of players on it, so whilst Mbappe is at the top of the list, there are other players out here that are going to be worth checking out in this list, particularly if you don't have the biggest budget in the world. So here we have Mbappe, of course. In our Football Manager Simulate Wonderkids in the Future video, he turned into a world superstar. I say he turned into a world superstar like he isn't one already. At 19 years old, probably the most prolific Wonderkid in the land. I mean, look at him. Incredible physicals, incredible technicals. You're probably never going to be able to sign him in your FM19 save, but I feel like he's worth just taking a look at for just how good he is. In terms of other players here, you'll see with this list, there are some players who are in their early 20s, up to the age of 21 in this list. The reason for doing that is that in FM this year, you do get late bloomers. Players develop a little bit slower this year. As a result, I do want to include some under kind of 21 players and 21-year-olds in this list, alongside, you know, some of the very young players. You know, players like Ousmane Dembele, I would still consider a Wonderkid at heart, maybe. Maybe I'm wrong. You know, everyone has a different definition, but for me, a player like him is definitely kind of considered a Wonderkid still. You know, he's a player who could definitely break out and become one of the world superstars and isn't quite there yet. In terms of other players, Gabriel Jesus sticks out. Of course, the Man City man, another player who might struggle to sign. Maybe in the shadow of Aguero, he will get unsettled, but regardless, just a top player, definitely worth checking out. Also, Rashford up here, of course, on the thumbnail of this video. He is a very good striker. Incredible kind of physicals. I mean, you can see here, still listed as a Wonderkid despite being of the age of 20 and almost 21 actually. But yes, a great striker. Can also play on the left wing. Obviously an English player, so perhaps a little bit of my own bias coming in here. Obviously, we are sorting by value here, so a lot of Premier League players with higher reputation playing for big clubs on big contracts naturally float to the top. In terms of players who, you know, you might not necessarily have heard of, you know, there are some players further down this list. A few that you can even pick up on free transfers. Bilal here, the only player of this list in terms of attackers who you can sign as a free agent, but he has good potential. His kind of technicals aren't that great, but you might be able to pick him up at a smaller club, so I feel like it's worth including him, even if his kind of potential is somewhat questionable. There's other players here like Cezabov, who is Hungarian, playing for Benfica, a potential late bloomer, a player who can come very good indeed. I do think it's also worth just mentioning, as we go through this list, of course, save on save, players' potentials vary. Players have, a lot of these Wonderkids at least have kind of variable potential abilities where your mileage may vary. So whilst in one save game they might turn out amazingly, in another save they might just be a good rotation option for a Champions League side. But all of these players can definitely, you know, play a role in some of the big leagues. Fabio Silva, a player who I covered it in my top 10 Wonderkids to sign this year. I really like the look of him. 15 years old, playing for Porto. In terms of lesser known players, there's a few here. You kind of look here, there are players in the bargain bin. Granted, a lot of them playing for bigger clubs, so maybe not that easy to sign. You got here Valentin playing for Elfsborg, who looks like a pretty good player at only 15 years old. I do want to just quickly stress, with this list, I have pretty much every league loaded right now. Depending on what database size you select, depending on what nations you have loaded in FM, the players might not all show up on your list. Obviously, the database kind of player number varies depending on what leagues you have loaded. So if you see any players in this list that you can't find in your own save game, that is the most likely reason why, just so you guys are aware. Of course, you guys can get this file on the Steam Workshop. It's available right now as you watch this video, and you can have a look through this list yourself. If there's any players who are curious about that you didn't get to see, it's, you know, a way that you can do it. Rania here is a player who plays for Flamengo at the start of the game, has has good determination in this specific save. I believe he's a player whose attributes values do vary save on save, but regardless, at 16 years old, I've seen him get picked up for very, very small sums of money as well. So definitely a player worth checking out there. In terms of other players here, lots of players in the Portuguese league. Obviously, Portugal are a nation known for producing very good players, but a fair few of these players just won't load unless you have Portugal loaded. Players like Mario Ferreira here, though, very, very good player, ambitious personality, very good mentals, technically extremely gifted, and he is only 18 years old. Definitely a player to be aware of in your own save games. Thomas Amang here, 20 years old, playing for Molde. A player with crazy physicals and speed. Obviously, doesn't have the technicals or the best mentals, but at 20 years old, he's a player who still has potential to improve. I do want to stress that with this list, these players are in this list based off their potential, not necessarily their current ability or their likeliness to develop. But I wanted to include as many players as possible because I understand that for some people, you can't sign players from every single league here and there. Another player who's in my top 10 Wonderkids list is this guy, Robert. I'm not going to say where he is, but he is a very good player. He only loads if you have Spain selected, but a very, very athletic winger available for a very minute fee indeed. You can see as we scroll through these players, a real variety of nationalities. Of course, I've tried to go in-depth as possible with this kind of shortlist in terms of just having as many players. As a result, there's players that might only show up if you have the league selected. Again, I really want to stress that because every year I do this video and people always leave the same comment saying they can't find X, Y, and Z player in their save. In terms of obscure kind of nationalities, I feel like Dadasov wins the award with the Azerbaijani nationality. Not a nationality you necessarily associate with footballers, but a very good player, a young 19-year-old at the start of your save game, assuming you start with a summer 2018 start date. Lots of players here, of course, playing for the likes of Real Madrid, not entirely surprising. Some of these players already hoovered up by the big titans of Europe, but there's certainly players here to kind of pick up. Players like this guy, Neil Farugia, I guess, from UCD. Plays in Ireland's first division. I mean, what a player this guy is. Model citizen personality. I don't know if that varies save on save, but can play either wing. He looks like an immense player, to be honest. Potentially a go-to player as well for Neil there, if you're looking for kind of immediate impact. And I imagine actually playing in the Irish division, you could pick him up in a few leagues. He only is on £180 a week. If we sort by wage, I bet there's some players down here on some tiny, tiny fees that are going to be worth checking out, to be honest. You can see some players on junior contracts playing in Argentina. Let's have a look at some of these. Alexander Fernandez here. Good kind of physicals. Technicals are pretty solid. He's only 17 years old as well. Of course, a lot of these players playing for the big guns, the likes of Boca, the likes of River. So they're not necessarily going to be easy to pluck away if you're not the biggest team. Benjamin Rollheiser here. He looks pretty solid indeed. Again, great speed, great aerial ability, good technicals, vision and attacking ability. And yeah, there's just some real quality players here. In terms of on the more valuable side of things, but players that you might be surprised to see in this list or might want to see. Obviously, you've got players like Pulisic. I know American viewers are going to be very hyped about him. He, of course, appears in both the attacking shortlist and the midfielder shortlist because he can play right wing and obviously the slightly deeper right midfielder role. But yes, a very good player, him as well. Lautaro Martinez, one of the best Wonderkids this year in FM. I mean, look at these stats. Professional personality, 20 years old. Not going to be an easy player to pluck away from Inter. He has only just signed for them in real life. But he consistently, in a lot of the save games that I've played, becomes one of the world's best strikers. I can't kind of stress just how good he is. Moussa Dembele, of course, got a move to Lyon this year. He looks incredible. At 21, again, people might argue he's not exactly a wonder kid, but he's a player worth having on your radar as one of the best young players. There's a few different players here, of course. Sorting by value, you're going to have the players playing in England naturally float to the top. In terms of a few others here, you can see here Marlos Moreno, 21 years old, Colombian international on loan from Manchester City. Gerson here, a player who has been very good for a number of years in FM. Got that move to Roma a couple of years ago, now on loan at Fiorentina. Down here, Ben Woodburn on loan at Sheffield United, of course, the Liverpool player. A player who I think has had a few issues with injuries so far this year, but he was very good last year. Of course, if you are managing in England and Brexit comes around, you're going to need British players, so he could be a very useful player for you indeed there. Vargas, I think the last player we'll take a look at, because I know that he's very good. 21 years old, plays for Vélez. plays the killer ball often. Some very good PPM, so he can play as an inside forward or a more attacking midfielder role. And yeah, he is definitely a player worth checking out. Anyway, as I said, there are so many players here. I could spend ages going through each and every one, but in reality, it's not the best use of my time. You guys should go download the shortlist yourself. In order to do that, you just need to go in-game. You go to FM at the top here. You go down to downloads. You'll see here you have the in-game editor and Steam. If you click on Steam and then go to download add-ons directly from Steam, this will then bring you to the Football Manager 2019 Steam Workshop Hub. From here, you can see you can search Football Manager. If you search WorkTheSpace, I believe stuff should come up with my name. And yeah, you can see here all of these files available of mine, of course. Today we went through our attackers. In the coming days, we're going to go through goalkeepers, defenders and midfielders. The complete collection also available. And a special mention to the Tier 2 collection, a new file that I'm doing this year containing the best Wonderkids that don't necessarily stream Champions League potential. But if you're not managing in one of the massive leagues of world football, kind of worth your time to pick up. And of course, if you do enjoy these files, please, please, please leave a positive rating, leave a favourite. Of course, if you want to download the file, click the subscribe button on the files page. It'll automatically be added to your game. And yeah, that is going to be all from me today, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy this video covering my best attackers. Hopefully I will see you guys on the next one. If you have enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you're new to my channel, subscribe. And other than that, it is me, Jack, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.